I'm 73 years old. I woke up this morning and it took me a few seconds to remember where I was, and a few more to remember who wasn't anymore. That happens a lot now. Not the forgetting, the noticing. I'm not telling this because I need to be heard. I've had my turn. I'm telling it because I wasted more time than I knew I had, and I didn't realize what I was doing until it was already done. I used to think lessons arrived all at once, like a door opening or a light switching on. That's not how it happened for me. For me, it took 52 years. I learned it slowly, in pieces, through absences, through quiet, through rooms that used to be full. These days, time feels different. It doesn't stretch forward anymore. It gathers behind me. When I look ahead, I see a shorter road than I expected. When I look back, I see how casually I walked past the important parts. I'm not bitter. That's the strange part. I'm calm, but the calm has weight in it. I spend my mornings sitting at the kitchen table longer than I need to. The coffee goes cold. I don't rush to reheat it. There's no reason to. No one waiting, no schedule that matters much anymore. I used to be busy, all the time. Busy felt responsible. Busy felt like proof I was doing life correctly. In my 20s, I believed effort was the same thing as meaning. If I was tired, I thought that meant I was valuable. I got my first real job at 21. I remember the smell of the building, old carpet and burnt coffee. I remember how proud I felt carrying that ID badge, like it proved I belonged somewhere. I told myself I was building something, a future, security, respect. Those were good reasons, reasonable reasons. I wasn't reckless. I wasn't cruel. I didn't abandon anyone on purpose. I just kept postponing things. Dinners turned into another night. Phone calls turned into this weekend. Visits turned into when things slow down. And they never really did. In my 30s, life got louder. Kids, bills, promotions, repairs, responsibilities stacked on top of each other until days felt like narrow hallways you just move through. I loved my family, I really did. But love, I learned too late, doesn't protect things on its own. Attention does. I was always nearby, but often not fully there. I'd sit on the floor with my children and think about work. I'd listen to my wife talk and half plan tomorrow in my head. Nothing dramatic, nothing obviously wrong, just divided. I told myself this was temporary, that once I reached a certain point, I'd be able to relax, be present, catch up. That point kept moving. In my 40s, I started to notice small changes. My kids didn't ask as many questions. My wife stopped repeating herself when I didn't hear her the first time. I didn't think much of it. People grow. Families shift. That's what I told myself. What I didn't see was the cost accumulating quietly, like dust in corners you stop checking. There were birthdays I attended physically, but not emotionally. Conversations I nodded through. Moments that passed while I was elsewhere. No one confronted me. That's the dangerous part. Life rarely warns you out loud. It just adjusts around your absence. My father died when I was 46. Heart attack. Quick. I remember standing in his house afterward, surrounded by things he'd meant to fix someday. He'd always said he was tired, always said he'd rest later. I remember thinking briefly that maybe I should slow down. Briefly. A week later, I was back to normal. Normal is powerful. Normal carries you forward whether you're paying attention or not. In my 50s, success arrived in the way I'd been chasing it. Better income, stability, the ability to replace things instead of repairing them. I thought I'd feel something more when I got there. Instead, I felt oddly hollow, not unhappy, just quiet inside. By then, my children were adults. They had their own lives, their own pace. They didn't need me in the same way anymore. I told myself that was healthy, and it was. But it was also final in a way I hadn't prepared for. You don't get unlimited versions of people. You get phases, and once they pass, they don't come back. The real turning point didn't arrive with drama. It arrived with a hospital chair. My wife got sick when I was 63. Not sudden, slow. Months of tests, waiting rooms, long drives where neither of us spoke much. One night she fell asleep holding my hand, and I realized how little I remembered about the sound of her voice when she was young. That scared me more than the illness. She survived, for a while. Long enough for me to finally slow down, long enough for me to notice everything I'd missed noticing before. We talked more in those months than we had in years. Real talking, about fears, regrets, small things we'd never said because there always seemed to be time later. Later is fragile. She died on a quiet afternoon, no speeches, no revelations, just a long exhale. Afterward, the house felt enormous, not empty, just too big for one person's noise. That's when the lesson finally settled in, not as a thought, as a fact. I had spent most of my life assuming I could return to moments I was postponing. I couldn't. Time doesn't save anything for you. It just keeps moving. There are things now that cannot be repaired, not because I was evil or careless, but because I waited. Relationships don't break all at once. They thin, they fade, they get used to your absence. Some people forgive you, some adjust without you, some disappear quietly. I don't blame them. In old age, you become aware of how little of you exists in other people's daily lives. That's not an accusation, it's a truth. You imagine you'll be remembered loudly. Most of us aren't. We're remembered in habits, in small preferences, in phrases someone else uses without knowing where they came from. That's it. I wish I had understood earlier that presence is something you don't earn later. It's something you choose repeatedly, or you lose it. I wish I had known that being needed is temporary, and being known takes work. I wish I had realized productivity can be a very polite way of hiding. If you're listening to this and you're younger than me, I don't want to tell you what to do. I don't know your life. I don't know your pressures. I just know this. The things you keep postponing because they don't feel urgent will eventually become impossible. Not dramatic, just unavailable. One day the phone won't ring. One day the house will stay quiet. One day the chance to say something will pass without ceremony. And you won't notice it right away. You'll notice it later when it's heavy. I don't regret my entire life. There were good days, real joy, laughter, love, but I regret assuming there would always be more time to return to what mattered. There wasn't. Now my days are slower. I take walks without destinations. I sit with memories longer than I used to. Some of them hurt. Some of them warm me. Both matter. I don't have a grand ending. I don't have a transformation story. I have acceptance and a limited number of mornings left to practice it. If this meant something to you, sit with it. That's all. You don't need to act. You don't need to fix anything immediately. Just notice what you've been delaying because it feels safe to wait. Waiting feels safe until it isn't. I'm 73 now,
and I finally understand what I spent 52 years learning. Time doesn't ask what you meant to do.